Hi, I'm Melissa Broaddus, ACCA's Director of Communications, and today I'm here with Carl of Emerson Climate Technologies. Hey Carl, how are you doing today?
Doing very well, but I do have sore feet from being in the booth all day.
I feel your pain on that one. So Carl, there has been a lot of changes in our industries in regards to regulations and standards. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we've had a couple in 2005 and 2006, another one in 2010, and we have 2 or 3 more facing us in the near future as well.
So how are these regulations and changing things, and how is it going to affect contractors?
Well, a number of things. I want to touch briefly on some history. In 2006, there was change from 10 to 13 SEER efficiency levels. Had a big impact on contractors, a big impact on the industry. About 1 million extra systems were built in advance of that regulation change to get more 10 SEER equipment out there. And there was impact in terms of how they were going to be regulated, and the folks really weren't really sure. And we tried to do some industry awareness programs, and hopefully it did help out.
Well, and we know there's regulations that are in the pipeline now. We have new efficiency standards that go into effect, or that went into effect on January 1 of this year, but will not be enforced for 18 months for air conditioners. And then, of course, the furnace rules are coming down the pike again. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, the January 1, 2015 changes, it meant 3 regional areas, regional standards for the first time. Has an impact on 13 SEER equipment. Will drop to only about 20% of the market, and the predominant efficiency level will be 14 SEER. It's very tough on logistics, enforcement. Everyone's not clear on enforcement, and there's a significant increase in the amount of information you're going to have to keep and make sure that you are not in violation of any of the policies.
Yeah, and we hear that a lot at ACCA as well, because we constantly get the questions about what enforcement is going to look like. Do you have any ideas on what that's going to look like, or how that's going to affect contractors?
Well, no one is really sure about all the documentation that's going to be required, and there's impact and penalties if you end up being violating the rules and you're identified as a repeat offender. It's going to impact you financially with fines as well.
Yeah. So it's going to have a huge impact on this industry regardless of what the enforcement looks like, correct?
Yes, and it's interesting enough, again, like it happened in 2005 to 2006, there were an extra 1 million systems built, primarily 13 SEER and R22 dry charge, in the second half of 2014.
Yeah, and at least with this, there is that 18-month grace period for anything that was manufactured prior to January 1, 2015. So if it was manufactured before that, contractors can still install regardless of what region they're in, correct?
That is correct.
Is there anything else you want to talk about on regulations and standards? Because I know there's a ton out there.
Okay, DOE has just published a ruling with a recommendation to go to 92% minimum efficiency for gas furnaces. That is going to save energy, but gosh, if you live in Brownsville, Texas, and you only use your furnace about 10 days a year, it's a big cost impact for retrofit of a condensing furnace into that environment.
I know that ACCA is sending comments to the DOE because obviously we represent contractors as well, and we want to see what's best for them. What is Emerson doing on their side?
We also are very active in Washington, D.C., and also with ACCA and Hardy and others participate and share ideas. We aren't necessarily in favor of all the regulations because in general there are some unintended consequences that occur with that. Anytime you have the efficiency changes, it's going to have an impact on cost, and then on the consumer, there's a risk of people spending more time and more money just fixing old equipment, which was not the intent of the new regulations at all. We saw a significant jump in service parts sales following a couple of these regulations, and sadly enough, there was a jump in room air conditioning sales in 2006. It jumped from 8 million room air systems to 2 million. So we believe that people couldn't afford some of the new equipment. They just went down to the big box retailer and bought a couple window shakers to stick in.
And as we know with the last furnace standards, there was a lawsuit that was just recently settled about a year ago. And with these 92% being proposed, we don't know what's going to happen there. What do you think? Do you think the DOE is going to go ahead with it?
You know, I hope they would go back and look at something like a regional standard. If you're going to put a 92%, enforce it on retrofit in a home in the southern third of the United States. It's a big impact financially, and I think people will just fix their old furnace.
And that's definitely not what we want as an industry.
No, we don't. You know, and there's also recommended improvements or increases in efficiency for commercial equipment as well. AHRI, kind of the leading technical experts at AHRI, got together and they recommended changes for minimum efficiency levels and IEER for rooftops. Their recommendation was in the 13 to 15% range improvement, which could be handled with a little bit better heat transfer, maybe some multiple speed fans on the systems. But the DOE disregarded that and came back and said, I want to more than double what your recommendation was. And it's our estimate that over 90%, if this goes through, over 90% of the commercial rooftop equipment in the United States, 90% of the systems will have to be redesigned, adding cost and complexity. And I'm concerned again that we'll be seeing a situation where people just continue to fix old equipment.
Yeah, it sounds like that could be the path we're going down. Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of regulations and standards that are changing in our industry? Because we could probably go on for days if we really wanted to.
Yeah, don't get me going on a roll here. If you want to learn more about what standards have happened and what regulations are facing us, Emerson has an info site that's called AC Heating Connect, and the address is ac-heatingconnect.com, and it's not a selling site at all. It's information for contractors, building owners, facility managers, and homeowners as well. So if you want to keep up abreast of what's going on, try our website out.
And also, contractors that are at the IE3 Expo, they can visit you at booth
817.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Carl, for spending some time with us today. We really appreciate it. Everybody have a wonderful show.